In this video, we are finishing this Naboo Swamp mock and continuing the story of this clone squad in duress. To start off, I'm building a river that will run right through the mock and cut it in half. I built up the base of the river so that it's even with the bricks that outline it on both sides. Then I built up a couple simple rocks which will jut out of the water. And to make it look like rapids and water flowing around the rocks, I added some sloped clear pieces. The majority of the river will be this trans light blue, but I also added some splotches of regular clear and dark trans to add a lot of depth to this river. Further upstream, I wanted to make an area where the Droid stap speeder is crossing the river. So I placed some more clear slopes around the Droid speeder's stand to make it look like the downforce that the vehicle is creating is pushing the water back. With the river done, now it's time to add a black border. This will give the build a way classier look. First, I placed brackets all around the edges of the mock. Then I placed black tile on the top and bottom of the brackets. I think it turned out really good. The last thing to finish the clone side of the swamp is just building up some plants and foliage around the river bank. Now finally we can start on the landscape for the Droid side. Overall, this side is going to be very similar landscape-wise to the other side. The elevation towards the center will be a little higher, but the low points will have the dark, muddy water just like the other side. Before I finish the landscaping and foliage on this other side, my plan is to add one big tree right in the middle, hopefully a bit taller than even this tall tree right here, and then I also want it a good bit girthier. Let's see how that turns out. I'll be using the same technique to build the girth tree as I did with the other trees, by placing a hose through bricks with 5 studs. But to get the desired girth, I'll be using 2 plates stacked on top of each other, placed on every side instead of just the one I used for the other trees. And now I can place curved and sloped pieces all the way around the trunk. Because of the extra width, it made it slightly more difficult to keep this tree trunk round and not lopsided. The leaves will be starting way lower on this tree to make it look more filled out. Now I finally have the girth tree finished, and I have to say, it turned out way better than I thought it would. It's pretty much double the size of the other trees. Now, since this is a really big tree, it needs a really big root system. So I used a variety of reddish brown and dark brown sloped pieces to make roots that span almost all the way across this side of the mock. Finally, to top everything off, I added all the plants I had left in my collection. In part 1, I said that I would use every single build that's in the new battle pack. That includes even the small stuff like this small munitions crate, which I'm going to place right here on the Droid side. To make the crate look forgotten about and abandoned, I added some reddish brown pieces to look like it's sinking into the mud. Now, with the mock pretty much done, let's continue the story of this swamp skirmish. I'll play part 1 again just as a refresher, or if you haven't seen it, and then we'll go right into part 2. Let's give it. After reports of droid sightings in the swamps of Naboo, the Republic has deployed a squad of 4 clones, led by a Coruscant Guard shock trooper, to investigate. The 4 troopers quickly fanned out to find good vantage points to scan the area. The shock trooper took cover behind an abandoned defense post where he could give orders from. The sharpshooter took cover behind a tree where he could scope out the area. And the clones on the speeder scouted around for any threat. Out of nowhere, a large blast hit the speeder. Both clones, getting up with just a few scrapes, had to scramble for cover, as they were now under heavy fire. At that moment, another large blast was heard, and they saw their squad leader, the shock trooper, flying backwards. He would not be as fortunate as the 2 clones on the speeder. Whatever took out the speeder and their squad leader was no simple battle droid. The sharpshooter trying to help lays down covering fire, yet he still does not have eyes on his foe. One of the troopers quickly takes cover behind a tree to regain his bearing, while the other notices a shield was blown off the defense post in the blast. He scrambles to get to the shield as he knows this could give him a fighting chance. Once the shield is retrieved, the trooper scurries back behind the cover of the tree so that they can formulate a plan of counterattack. What does fate have in store for these troopers? The 3 troopers, under heavy fire, knew that swift action must be taken. The sharpshooter, realizing their need for a new leader, started barking orders. He ordered them to flank around the tree with the shield trooper leading the charge right across the river, as he laid down covering fire. As the clone leading the charge is crossing the river, a super battle droid pops up right above him. As the droid shoots endless blaster bolts into the clone's shield, the sharpshooter repositions, sending one blaster bolt straight at the super battle droid as it out for the count. As the 2 troopers advance past the river, a B-1 battle droid emerges from the depths of the swamp. Without hesitation, both troopers lay waste to this battle droid, blowing its head clean off. Then a droid stab speeder can be heard swooping in, making a beeline for the clone sharpshooter. As the droid speeder gets closer, the clone sharpshooter takes his shot and blasts the droid right off of the speeder. The other 2 clones move forward when a super battle droid emerges from behind the tree, its blasts only hitting the shield. The 2 clones returning fire, sending it to oblivion. A second super battle droid has outflanked the clones, ending up behind them. But before it even has a chance to shoot, the sharpshooter takes care of it. The clones take cover behind a tree as the ground starts to shake and mechanical footsteps can be heard. The one responsible for killing the squad leader and downing the speeder came out of the depths of the swamp, an Octopara Tri-Droid. The sharpshooter opens fire, giving it everything he has, but no amount of small arms fire could possibly affect this droid. The 2 clones behind a tree look around for solutions. Then conveniently they look over and see a munitions crate that has sunk into the mud. They pry the lid off of the crate and are so relieved to find a single thermal detonator. They devise a daring plan where one trooper will go out and distract the Tri-Droid, while the other will sneak up behind it and throw the thermal detonator onto it. As the distraction trooper came within sight of the Octopara Tri-Droid, he started yelling at it and shooting his blaster. Then the Tri-Droid blasted him and he flew backwards like an eagle. His sacrifice would not be in vain. The other trooper threw the detonator and it attached to the Tri-Droid's leg. He then jumped to cover as there was a loud explosion. The Tri-Droid had been defeated. The 2 remaining clones would be recognized for their heroic actions, but they would never forget the cost of that victory. Alright, I had a ton of fun creating this mock and telling a story to go along with it. I think it turned out pretty good. What do you guys think of the mock? How do you like the story aspect? Should I do that in the future? What's your favorite part of the mock? Mine is by far the trees, especially this big tree. I really like how it turned out. Make sure to leave your feedback in the comments down below. If you enjoyed, like and subscribe. I love you, and I'll see you next time.